Great to see everybody again. It's been a while. Um, More than 24 hours. It's a long time. Gosh, I didn't know how I was going to get by not seeing you, Lauren. Anyway, day of good day on Saturday. Really proud of our guys. It was, not an easy place to go against a veteran team. I thought Andre Curbelo did a great job of stepping up. Anytime you go 10 of 10 down the stretch from the free throw line, you make your last 5 shots. DeMonte Williams, a senior, knocking his down. I thought defensively, especially till the last 2 minutes, I thought it was about as good as we could be. I thought it did a great job of taking the 3-point line away from them when almost 42% of their shots come from three. So we'll take it. It was an emotional week. Now we get into the last week of season. It's March. We play, in my opinion, I've been fortunate to see both Gonzaga and Baylor in person. I think Michigan's in their caliber. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Juwan's done a really good job. It's a veteran team. Been very, very impressed with Mike Smith, their point guard, who's known as has always been known as a really good scorer, and yet he's a facilitator. He's made them better. And then the improvement of Livers and Wagner, and then Hunter gives them an inside presence that maybe they didn't have last year. A very connected team, a team that plays with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, and we'll have to play very, very well up there to beat them.
Hey, Coach, my question is about the inbounds formation we've seen this season a few times. And apologies if you've already explained this on a previous call, but mostly towards the end of the game when you've got it's like a football formation, like a trips left or like a run and shoot offense kind of thing. You've got 3 guys lining up on the left, 1 guy on the right before they go in. So my question is like how you guys kind of came up with that and practice it and how that works strategically.
It's just one of those things that you sit there one day and you try to figure out, and this goes back a while. I mean, we actually had it in at Oklahoma State. We had it in at SFA. It's just one of those deals that you sit around and you think, okay, how can you guard it? What's a formation that's really hard to guard? And it worked great for this team and has worked, and it's just a little bit unique. You don't see it all the time. And, for the most part, it's been pretty effective for us.
Has that any inspiration derived from football, or is it just strictly a basketball thing?
Oh, I mean, it's just being unique. I think it's just being creative. I don't know. I think that, we try to think about different formations or different things that people haven't seen and that still may be effective. So no real thought process behind it for football, but if it's the spread formation, yeah, we stole it from football. You can call it whatever.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Brad, you mentioned Andre there. How have you seen him kind of approach these last couple games without Io, and what stood out about him to you?
Well, one, he doesn't fear the moment. And I say this, and he's an alpha. His personality thrives in those situations. He's been that guy, his whole career, whether it be in high school at Lehigh, whether it be with the Puerto Rican national team. He's not afraid. He's got so much experience playing against older people. The FIBA stuff has been huge for that progress, and he just he doesn't fear it. Will he make a mistake or two? Sure, but more often than not, he's going to make a lot of right plays.
How has he grown most during the season, Brad?
I think it's been from the basketball side, it's been mostly on the defensive side. I think that, he's always been a great rebounder. I watched him get 19 in a game. I think he's so instinctive. And I think it's taking that instinct and applying it to a structure, to a system, and learning to pick and choose on the offensive end when he can go and when he shouldn't, and understanding that not every time's go mode. And yet, that's what he's been able to do is be effective when he does go, and he's really grown from a maturity standpoint, understanding the game and in our system.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad. Ranked number 4 this morning. It's the highest ranking in 16 years for this program, and this late in the season. I don't know, maybe getting the program back to this level was a goal, but is there anything in particular over thinking back 2 years ago to where it was to where it is now that has maybe driven that progress?
No, it's the process. It's just the process. There's no time frame on a process, really. I mean, you want it sooner than later, obviously, but again, there's certain things you don't rush. It takes everybody. It takes a great administration. It takes a great coaching staff. It obviously takes great players. We've been very fortunate in the recruiting game that we found guys that fit our character and fit our system. Then it can happen. But it's just the process, Scott, and I'm excited about that because it's where I believe this program should be and has the capability to be. And is it there every year? I hope so. But again, I think overall we're laying a great foundation for the future.
I guess since we haven't asked yet, any update on Io, for his availability, maybe tomorrow or this week?
Day to day.
Thank you.
Brad, does some of the prognosticators are projecting you guys as a number 1 seed right now, even though the season's not over? Does that feel like ball in hand for you guys? And is that a talked about goal?
We talk about it, sure. I think that we've seen, Michigan's in a really good position to be the 1 seed in the conference tournament, and it's something we've talked about. It's a unique situation in the league where not everybody's, for obvious reasons, not playing the same amount of games. I've said this from the start. It was always about getting to the final chapter. I think Dan Gavitt and his crew at the NCAA have done an unbelievable job. And I mean, unbelievable. You start thinking about all the organization and putting an NCAA tournament together to try to stay safe and not having it in regions and so on and so forth. And to get to that final chapter is all we've talked about. And, as the season's progressed and you put yourself in a position to be, 1 or 2 seed, and there's obviously, you feel good about that. But, a lot of basketball left. Selection Sunday is not tomorrow. And, we're going to go out and compete and play as hard as we can and keep trying to get better. That's all we're trying to do.
And Michigan has played a good number of games. Is it pretty clear what they try to do, what their scheme is, and is tomorrow about countering that, and as well as trying to just execute? 2 quality teams having to execute.
They're good. And there's no doubt. I mean, what they do, they play really hard. I think I have a great appreciation for their connectivity. I think they play with great energy. And I would fully expect us to do the same. So, it's 2 good basketball teams and who've earned the right, and they've earned the right. They've won all but 1 game. So, they've earned the right to be where they're at, and I've got a great appreciation for that.
Thank you.
Brad, I know last week you said, these games really don't matter. I mean, your resume is pretty much set, and whether you play or not probably doesn't affect much. But, I mean, Andre just called it a statement game. I'm sure your kids are kind of licking their chops to get a shot at a potential Big Ten champion, number 1 seed.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you pinpoint certain games that come up on your schedule every year. They become probably more relevant as as the season progresses. And, obviously being two highly ranked teams, there's more attention brought to it. I think that when you go through conference play, it's a grind. We all go through it, and it is nice to maybe get a little different perspective on a game. But again, it's two good teams are going to play hard, and we'll have the potential to meet again in a week. And there's a lot of things that are pretty close to set from the conference standpoint, but again, the national stuff is the most important stuff.
They've got tremendous play out of Smith and Brown, and obviously you with Grandison. Does the transfer portal give you a chance to remain old? I mean, to immediately become old and remain old?
It gets you a chance to meet immediate needs. And obviously, Michigan's done it. I mean, I give the Smith kid a lot of credit because they met their need at the point guard spot, and he's done it. He's done a fabulous job. I've enjoyed watching him play.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, with Io on the bench the last couple of games, what have you just seen out of him? Maybe with him either just taking it back and observing, or still, providing some kind of input, even if he is on the bench.
No, he's a great leader. He's a guy that thinks the game. He knows the game. He can grab guys in a timeout. Those subtle whispers in their ear. He sees things that he can talk about from his position, and since he's been there and done that, and there's no doubt he's a steadying influence on the bench.
Do you think this little break might help him in the long run, in the sense of he gets to see, his teammates succeed without him on the court, when he, usually has maybe a lot riding on his shoulders in like a late game situation?
We'll find out. And that's to be determined. No crystal ball there.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Coach. I feel like Andre Curbelo's really improved a lot on the defensive end in my eyes. Can you kind of dive into what you've seen from him in terms of his improvement this season?
Yeah, like a lot of freshmen, there hasn't been maybe as much emphasis on that end in high school, and the accountability. And with us, most of the time he's guarding lead guards, primary ball handlers. Everything starts with them at the defensive end, and he's been able to roam. He's always been a very high steal guy because he anticipates. There's much more accountability, and especially with the guards that are in this league. You can't just roam and leave them around, and if you make a mistake, go well. If you make a mistake at this level, you get burned, and so he's really grown there from that aspect.
You've mentioned Mike Smith a lot today, and given him a lot of praise. What's going to be Andre's most difficult aspect in terms of defending a kid like that?
Well, he's got great experience. He's got really good players around him. They put him in a lot of different actions. He's a guy who's a very good shot maker. Known as a prolific scorer. Coming up through the ranks and even at Columbia. And so you've got to be accountable. And I mean, he's the engine that drives them, and he's done that very well.
Hey, Coach, for your team and others out there that felt like last year they could go on a run, it seems to have been get back to March and finish the job. What does it feel like now for the calendar to turn to March, and for yourself and just for the players? Have you noticed any kind of difference as you see that opportunity?
Well, I think every coach in the country talks about March, and we all know it's March Madness. And when you get there, this year's trying like no other. And everybody has fought different battles. I'm sure Juwan's been frustrated not having COVID and being suspended, and with his players, and every player's had to make sacrifices. And now we're getting closer to that finish line. For us, it's a little different because we've been building, Derek, and we've been trying to get there. we didn't get there last year. And that's why, senior day this year was, you got to get those guys to appreciate that and understand that. And Trent and DeMonte and Zima, those guys understand. They don't know. That was taken from them last year. And so as we draw closer and nearer to that, absolutely, I think it means a lot to this team.
You mentioned during the Nebraska game, maybe Iowa was a little subdued. You got a laugh out of him maybe one time. How have you seen since then how he kind of is emotionally or with the guys, how he's kind of holding up?
Yeah, he's been great. He's old Io. I think like he got tired of going to doctors and getting scanned and x-rayed and everything else. And that would not be very fun. So I wouldn't be in a great mood either. But no, he's a great teammate, and he's been excited for our wins, and was as excited as anybody in the locker room in Madison the other day.
Nice, Coach.
Hey, Brad, Jawan's implemented a lot of ball screen actions this year. So how important is ball screen defense going to be tomorrow night?
It's a whole game. It's a whole game, both ends of the court. We're very, very similar. We have a lot of similarities. We may not run a lot of the exact same actions, but there's a lot of philosophical similarities. And, they do it with 4 guys. They'll put all their guys in ball screens. And so it's a very, they're good at it, and big boy Hunter gives him a different look. He's a great roller. He's got great hands. He's 7'1". So, it'll be a big, big part of this ball game.
And then defensively, they're up to number 4 in Ken Palm. What do you think makes them such a strong unit on that end?
They're connected. Chemistry. Great chemistry. You can tell they're a veteran team. They've been coached. You can tell they're dialed in at that end. And then, probably the most important aspect of all that is they play really hard.
Thanks, Brad.
Coach, I'm curious if personally at Kansas State or anywhere else, if you've been involved in a matchup like this, number 2 versus number 4 national TV, any kind of game that had that much importance. Yeah,
us in Kansas was always good. We played Duke the year they had Kyrie. I don't know where we were all ranked. I don't know if it was 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 maybe. These games are fun. These games are what this thing's about, and you always enjoy that competitive side, and it's what this sport's meant to be, and that's what makes the March Madness so fun, is seeing great matchups.
And then I also wanted to ask, just a follow up from Saturday, I asked if you had any update on what happened with the technicals at the end. I'm just curious if you have any information on what Coach Tucker had said to your players to give him the technical, or what happened in that whole scenario.
Nothing. I think it was just preventive. So more than anything else.
Hey, Coach, can you just, after the years of building here, can you just talk about what it feels like to have this opportunity in front of you this week and going deeper into March?
Yeah, it's great. I'm so happy for Trent and DeMonte and Zima, and that's why I was crushed last year when Dre and Kipper and those, and Tyler didn't go through it. Tyler got lucky; he got to be able to come back, and it's Illinois is going to be there again. We're going to be there again. We're going to be in other NCAA tournaments. This always goes to the players, and it's awesome that those guys have been here since the start. They've been here through all the hard times, and people saying they stink and they weren't any good when we weren't winning, and people criticizing them, and all that, and you have to take all of that and put it on a shelf and understand that good things happen to people who work hard, and they never varied from that. So I'm really happy for those guys. I'm happy for I got a great staff. They don't get enough credit for how good they are. Got a great administration. Josh has made all this happen. So it's not just one person that makes a program. I mean, you know, coaches win games, administrators win championships, and players. And so we're in a great situation. We're in a great spot.
And what's the electricity like in that locker room right now?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's pretty excited, you know, and I think we didn't do much of anything yesterday. You know, obviously there's been a lot of games, and you know, it was more a recovery day and a mental day, but yeah, we'll get ready to go here, and it's been good.
Hey, Brad, we've seen these videos of you charging into the locker room after a win, pretty excited. Can you describe maybe what comes over you in those moments, and maybe when did that start?
You know, I mean, I think when you're trying to build, you know, have I always done that? Not really. But I do think that you get to different levels in your program, and I want our guys. I mean, this is the best league maybe in the history of college basketball this year, and winning is really hard. And these guys have accomplished something, and I just want them to know I'm excited by it, and I don't want them to take it for granted. And I want that sense of accomplishment for them, and you know that I'm genuinely fired up for them. And you know, if that's I don't ever want to be in a position we're taking winning for granted. It's hard work, and these guys work their tails off.
Do you do any like mental rehearsing for what you're going to do each time, or is it just in the moment?
Pretty spontaneous, to be quite honest. Pretty spontaneous.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, can you talk about Michigan being on pause for a month, and then what they've been able to accomplish after that, and just if your staff has kind of talked about how impressive that was to be able to keep this going after not being able to do much for nearly a month?
Well, it's very, 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 very impressive, and I don't think I put that in perspective until the other night when I watched Baylor in the Kansas game, and I actually did not know that Baylor was down 17 to Iowa State in their first game back. And you know, they've been anything but like that. You know, Michigan's been great, and you know, I think it shows their commitment and their veteran leadership, and they've been very good. So yeah, my hat's off to them.
And you mentioned Wagner. Is it stupid to kind of suggest that he might be one of the most, you know, the most hardest matchups in the league, just because of his length and what he can accomplish and his skill set?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's a really good player, and you're going to see him bring the ball up the court. You're going to see him in ball screens. You're going to see him in post ups. You're going to see him shoot a hook shot. You're going to see him, you know, go left, go right. He's a very good player. He is a very, very good player, and we all knew that coming in. We all knew that when John signed him, and he's done nothing but continue to grow his game under Juwan.
Thanks, Brad.
Hi, Coach. I think some of the fans in Michigan took note, I guess, of your comment the other day about not picking and choosing which canceled games to make up and so forth. Was that directed at all at the Wolverines, or were people reading too much into that? Or?
No, it's just there's nothing to it. I mean, it's some teams aren't. It's a league that's not playing 20 games, and that's all there is out there. I mean, I've got all the respect in the world. They've won all their games, but one that's been presented to them, and I think it's just a very unusual year. It's a one-off year, and you know, we're going to play them because we're part of the league, and the league says we're going to play them. That's who we're going to play, and that was all I when asked that question.
Have you guys gotten any more sort of official clarification from the league about how the conference tournament is going to be seeded? Is it definitely using winning percentage as far as you know, or is...
I don't know that exactly. We met as a head coaches group a couple of weeks ago just to discuss the move. But to get into specifics, it's going to take somebody a lot smarter than me to figure that out and understand what that formula is going to be. And to be honest, I mean, there's my importance is the NCAA tournament. I think that's the final chapter. I think that's what every coach in basketball is striving to get to this year, especially with no fans for the Big Ten tournament or any tournament for the most part, and just trying to get to the end so that the NCAA tournament does happen, and it needs to happen.